Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping right in, plunging into a topic that I think most of us actively try to avoid, and that's the vast echoing chamber of our own silence. This deep dive is called The Silence That Changes.
It's a really necessary conversation, I think, about the truths we wall off, even from ourselves.
Exactly. I mean, we live in a world that is just saturated with noise, right? Notifications, music, podcasts like this one.
Constant input.
Constant. But the source material we're looking at suggests that the loudest, most destructive noise is actually the internal silence we create.
Right.
The one we use to, wall off our fears, our desires, all the things that feel too big or too scary to look at.
And that quiet, that deliberate refusal to look inward, it's not an accident, it's a function. It acts as a powerful psychological anesthetic.
An anesthetic, that's a great way to put it.
It offers this comforting stasis. It feels safe, It lets you keep going without having to challenge the story you're telling yourself about your life.
Even if that story is making you miserable.
Especially then. So the goal here is to shatter that silence. Not with a big roar of self-criticism, but with just a whisper of truth about what you really want.
And who you really are, underneath all the performance.
Precisely.
Okay, so to give everyone a map for this, we've structured our conversation around three main areas where we use this strategic silence.
Yeah, as laid out in the material.
Right. So those are the silence of self-deception, then the silence of unmet needs, and finally, the silence before transformation.
And we're going to focus pretty intensely on those first two.
We are, because you really have to dismantle those before any real change can happen.
You do.
Okay, let's unpack this. The first layer, and maybe the most corrosive one, the silence of self-deception. And this is more than just, simple denial. The material defines it as the deliberate, though often subconscious act of hiding a reality from ourselves.
It's that moment, and everyone has felt this, where you say out loud, I'm happy, I'm totally fine, but your entire body, your gut, is just screaming the opposite.
Or telling yourself, this job is fine, this relationship is fine, when you know deep down that it's crumbling.
The real question isn't what we lie about, it's why. Why do we do this? It takes so much energy.
So why do we do it?
Because the truth is expensive. That's what the source material argues, and I think it's spot on. The truth demands action.
Action that's painful.
Always. If you admit the job is toxic, the cost is you have to go find a new one. If you admit the friendship is one-sided, you have to have that awful conversation.
Or just end it.
And that price, it might not just be inconvenience, it might be losing a piece of your identity, the perfect employee or the supportive partner, so the silence feels safer.
So it's not just denial, it's an active negotiation. We're weighing the comfort of the lie right now against the effort required for the truth later.
That's it exactly, and that negotiation is a perfect example of cognitive dissonance.
Right, the mental stress from holding two contradictory ideas at once.
Yes, so if I believe I'm a good, honest person, that's belief A. But I'm also, say, neglecting my family for work all the time, which is behavior B. That creates this intense internal stress.
So you have to change one of them.
You have to, and you have two choices. Change the behavior work less, which is hard, or change the belief.
Which is easier.
Much easier. So you convince yourself, well, successful people have to make these sacrifices. It's the price of ambition. And that justification, that's the silence taking root.
That is fascinating. And we see it play out perfectly in what the material calls the busy badge phenomenon.
Oh, yeah?
We all know this person. Maybe we are this person. We silence that little voice that's saying, I'm exhausted and this work isn't even meaningful.
And instead we wear busy like a status symbol.
Exactly. We show off our packed calendars as proof that we're important, that we have worth.
But the silence is hiding a much deeper fear. The fear that if we stop, if we actually rest, we might discover that our worth isn't tied to our productivity at all. And the silence, the noise of being busy, protects us from the vulnerability of just being.
That's a huge indictment of modern culture.
It is.
And another example that really hits home is our personal health.
Oh, definitely.
We all know we need to sleep more, move more, eat better. The facts are undeniable. But we silence that call to action with 1,000 tiny justifications.
I'll start Monday.
I'll start tomorrow. Or, it was a hard day. I deserve this pizza. And the material says this isn't just laziness. It's a deep resistance to discomfort. to accountability.
And the collective result of all this self-deception,
Yeah.
it's profound. It leads to this pervasive feeling of inauthenticity.
Like you're an actor in your own life.
Exactly. Reciting lines someone else wrote for you, your boss, your parents, society. And that gap, that chasm, as the source calls it, between who you pretend to be and who you are,
Yeah.
that's where genuine connection goes to die. With others and with yourself.
Okay, so if that's the problem, how do we start to break the silence? How do we force that radical honesty?
Well, the material gives us a tool, a very pointed one.
It does. It offers 3 very specific, and I have to say, very painful questions you need to ask yourself.
They're designed to hurt a little.
For sure. The first one is, what specific truth am I currently pretending not to know?
That's a big one.
Second, if I were truly brave, what one conversation would I initiate today?
Wow.
And third, what part of my life, if I saw it clearly, would require an immediate, difficult, and costly change?
And just being willing to sit with the answers to those, that's the beginning. That's the first crack in the silence.
And that leads us perfectly into the second area.
Right. So we've talked about lying to ourselves. Now we get to the silence of unmet needs.
This feels different.
It is. This is the silence we impose on our most basic human requirements. For connection, for safety, for creative expression, for validation, all because we're terrified to ask the world for what we need.
And that fear, it's often rooted in how we were raised, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're taught, sometimes explicitly, that having needs makes you a burden.
Don't be a bother.
Figure it out yourself. We internalize that. So we become masters of minimization. We shrink our needs down until they disappear. We decide we just don't deserve them.
And how does that show up in our behavior?
The classic example is the martyr complex. It's the person who pours all their energy into serving everyone else, their family, their colleagues, while secretly, internally, just seething with resentment that no one's doing the same for them.
But they never ask for help.
Never, because asking for help would shatter the illusion of being completely self-sufficient, and it hides the fear that if they do ask, the answer might be no.
Or that the need itself is somehow wrong, illegitimate.
Exactly. It's the person who always makes the coffee at work, but never says what kind they like, and they're just silently keeping score of who doesn't thank them.
That silence has a massive emotional cost. I mean, think about bottling up legitimate anger or disappointment.
Yeah, we have this idea, especially for anger, that nice people don't get angry.
Right, it's not allowed.
But that anger, it doesn't just vanish. The silence becomes a kind of pressure cooker.
And it metastasizes.
It does, into resentment or passive-aggressive behavior or just this low-level depression that makes you feel tired all the time. That slow burn is so much more destructive than one honest, difficult conversation.
So what are the big needs we tend to silence? The source material points to a couple of specific ones.
It does, and they are the need for rest and the need for boundaries. And you can see how hard those are to ask for because they connect right back to part 1.
How so?
Well, asking for rest might violate the busy badge identity you've built, and setting a boundary might prove your deepest fear is true. That you are, in fact, a burden.
It all connects.
It's all connected. So if you pull back both types of silent self-deception and unmet needs, they lead to the exact same place, this slow erosion of the self.
We're making a trade.
A constant trade. We're swapping the immediate sharp pain of a hard conversation for the long-term dull ache of inauthenticity.
And that ache just becomes the new normal.
It does.
You know, it's a profound realization that the thing we think is protecting us is actually the thing that's slowly degrading our life. And this is where that third type of silence comes in, the silence before transformation.
Right. We haven't detailed that part, but successfully navigating these first two is the preparation for it.
It is. Our secondary material reminds us that life doesn't always shout at you to change.
No, it often just quietly whispers.
And it's in that intentional pause, that non-defensive silence, that we rediscover honesty in who we actually are. That pause is the antidote to all this avoidance.
Which brings us to the final and I think most important question for you, the listener, to explore.
Okay.
We know the silence of self-deception and unmet needs shields us from the painful cost of change. We've established that. But if you consider the chronic consequences, the inauthenticity, the resentment, the depression, the real question is this: what pain is the silence itself currently inflicting on you that is actually worse than the initial pain of just telling the truth?
That is the space where liberation begins.